With so much drama in the courtroom, see, it's kinda hard being your legal OG. But I, somehow, someway, keep coming up with funky ass tips like every single day. May I kick a little something for the G's and save you some M's as I breeze through 2 tips in the morning and the party still objecting cause the judge ain't ruled. I got clients in the courtroom getting it won and they ain't leaving till the judge grant the motion. So what you wanna do for tips? We don't drop them just for others cause my homeboys sue too. So learn all your rights they can't dispose. But for what? We don't love them woes. So we gon' make you pounce on tips. Fees up, woes down, we eliminating doubts with tips. Rolling down to court, invoking legal, flipping them tips for use. Lay back with my mind on my legal and my legal on my mind. Let me stop. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Markwell Cade with Cade Mark Law, your favorite neighborhood lawyers, back with another resource for you. We're in copyright land this week, and today's resource is specifically gonna be helpful for all my musicians, podcasters, video game lovers, authors, illustrators, anyone who works with copyrights and creative works. Today, copyright, the do's and don'ts. Let's get right into it. While many people believe that imitation is the sincerest and purest form of flattery, intellectual property laws, specifically copyright laws, have other opinions. When creating any work, you want to take precautionary steps to ensure that your idea doesn't already exist under any copyright protections. While this can initially appear as restrictive, the protection of copyrights can be better appreciated once you establish a copyright of your own. When the time comes to protect your own creation, be sure to keep these do's and don'ts in mind. The don'ts of copywriting. Now, disclaimer alert, this isn't going to cover every single don't in copyright law, but these are a few that you should be aware of. These are things that you don't want to do for your own creative work. These are things that you don't want to do when you're using someone else's creative work. These are the don'ts. The first don't of copywriting is don't assume that copyright infringement will go unnoticed. Big companies like Disney, Nintendo, Lucasfilm, all of these companies make sure that their copyrights aren't being used without their permission. They have entire departments that are dedicated to making sure the little guys like you don't get away with using their things without permission. So don't use anyone's copyright without permission, because the infringement is not going to go unnoticed. There are third-party watchdog services where their job is to find people who are using copyrights unauthorized. Another don't assume that crediting the original work means that you're free to use the material. This happens all the time on the internet. People think that if they give credit to the original creator of the work, that they're free to use it. This is not the case. This is a myth. If you use it without permission, you are infringing and you are subjecting yourself to penalties. Don't do this. Another don't use someone else's creative work for its core ideas and then just change minuscule things about it. The greatest example that we can provide of this is the recent game Pal World. A lot of people pointed out the similarities between Pal World and Nintendo's Pokemon. Basically, Pal World took Nintendo's core idea of capturing monsters and having pocket monsters that battle it out and took that idea and changed minuscule concepts. Pal World and Nintendo's Pokemon share core ideas, and this is why there was such a big controversy surrounding Pal World. But you want to prevent that. You don't want to take a creator's original core idea, change a few minuscule ideas, and then say it's your own work. This is a big no-no and can get you into trouble. Now that we've learned a few don'ts of copywriting, let's learn a few do's. A few do's of copywriting are as follows. Do ask for permission before using existing work as a part of your work. You want to make sure that your licensing are getting permission to use others' works because this will prevent infringement. You do want to be vigilant in your research for ideas that are similar or tangent to yours. By researching and making sure that there are no ideas that are similar or tangent to yours, you are also preventing infringement because you aren't taking the core of someone else's work and using it for yours. And infringement does not require you know that you're infringing. This means that you could create something completely identical to something that someone else created, have no knowledge of their creation, and still be infringing. You do want to credit your sources when necessary. Now, while crediting sources will not prevent infringement, crediting your sources will help point out that you've gained a license or that you've asked for permission from a copyright holder. You do want to embrace media available in the public domain. The public domain is free game. You can take and use creative works in the public domain as much as you want to for your own works. But what you can't do is pass off these creations in the public domain as your own. Therefore, you still need to give credit for anything you're using in the public domain, as this will protect you from anyone trying to say that you're passing off the work as your own. And lastly, you do want to understand what can and cannot be copyrighted. Things that can't be copyrighted are things like facts or simple shapes. Things that can be copyrighted are creative works that are original. And lastly, the final do, get a lawyer. You do want to get a lawyer whenever you're doing copyrights. You want to make sure that your work is protected in its entirety. That's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been the do's and don'ts of copyrights. Once again, I am Markwell Cade with Cade Mark Law, your favorite neighborhood lawyers. Protect your brand, grow your business. Stay frosty, my friends. We'll see you next time. We hope this was helpful.